You then.
Okay, I, Alfred Lloyd Nichols, having been born at a very early age, in 1925, the month of July. And I can't remember anything about it until I get a little older.
Okay, where were you born?
In Mesa, Arizona.
Do you know what hospital it was in, or was it in a hospital?
Southside District Hospital.
Okay.
Must have been a holiday because my mother took the whole day off.
Oh, there you go.
You got this. You got this one. You got this one.
Did I say the
You
17th?
got this one.
Nope, now you did.
You
17th
got
of
this
July.
one. You got this one. Put this on. Put this
Okay.
on. Put this one on.
What are your earliest childhood memories?
I can remember
Go get it to Grandma.
my grandmother
Put that one on.
fixing baby lima beans for us
Put that
when I
one
was
on.
a boy, and she was killed when I was 4 years old. So
Put that one in.
I can remember her because she was my pretty grandma.
Did you eat all your chicken?
They lived about a half a mile
Did you eat
from
all
us.
your chicken and all
We
your...
were up there occasionally.
My
We at that time
She's
lived
tying.
in Gilbert, but it was out 2 miles east and 2 miles
Sit up there and Grandma will rock you.
She's
north
too
of
tired.
Gilbert on the base line. And that's about the earliest that I can remember.
Okay.
I was the third child of my father and mother, Alfred Hiram Nichols, and my mother, Rachel Manning Nichols.
Where was your father from?
My father was born in Old Mexico, in the state of Sonora, the town of Oaxaca, or Morelos,
Okay.
as I can remember. My mother was born in Montgomery,
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, and came west when she was 17 to Mesa or Tempe, Arizona. And that's where my mother and father met and were later married, raised a family of 6 boys and 5 girls. What else do you want?
Let's see. What did their parents do? What did Grandpa Manning do by profession? You don't know that one? Okay.
He came west. He joined the church when he was living in Alabama and saved up his cattle money, which was just the milk cow's calf, and until he got enough money to make the buy the train ticket for his family.
Baby.
They were in the family. There were 3 boys and how many girls were there? 4 or 5 girls.
What is his conversion story? Do you know?
No,
You don't know how they joined the church?
this is from missionaries.
Okay. Because your grandfather on your dad's side had quite a conversion story, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about your grandfather then for a minute. Grandpa Nichols was from Mexico, and they were down there in the colonies, right?
But my grandfather Nichols was born in Polk County, Arkansas,
Uh-huh.
and that was during or just before the Civil War. And his older brothers went off to the Civil War, and when they came home, they had a family gathering, and the boys had a pretty good meal and meat, I guess. And they said if you lived in Texas, why you could eat like this all the time.
Uh-huh.
my great-grandfather, Alfred, was a herb doctor.
This is the father of Messiah Sage,
Mm-hmm.
and his name was Alfred.
His name was Alfred, and he was an herb doctor and was out getting herbs in the forest when a runaway slave found him, and they fought over the gun, and in the process, why the gun was broke, and my great-grandfather was killed in the process. And when his brothers found out about it, they went out into the woods and found the Negro, and they didn't ever bring him out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's as my memory
Mommy?
serves me on that.
What was his conversion story, though? Or was it Messiah Sage that joined the church? Was that probably that generation,
It was
huh?
Messiah Sage Nichols that joined the church after they left Arkansas.
Mommy?
One day he came in and he said to his mother, he said, "If you're going with me, get in the wagon. I'm going to Texas." And so she said, "Well, run over and tell Uncle Em that we're going to go." And Uncle Em lived 100 miles away, so he ran over and told Uncle Em that they were going. And so they went to Texas, and then they stayed there for a while, and they went on through into Arizona. When they went through Arizona, there was 2 Adobe stores in Phoenix. And he wasn't a member of the church then, but they went on down into Mexico looking for prospects of a better life. While he was going, he stopped one evening just before dark and was preparing the camp and the evening meal. And he took the bucket and went down to the spring to get a bucket of water, and on his way back he met a man. And they had a conversation, and in the conversation, why, the man that he met told him that right on down that direction a little ways, why, there was a good group of people that he could live with, and they wouldn't steal from him, and would treat him decent. And so he took his advice and went on down in there, and that was where he met the Mormons, and later joined the church. And one occasion he left his axe someplace where he'd camped, and so he told the bishop that he'd left his axe, and when he went back to get it, it was gone, and the people came out with the axe, so he got his axe back. And then later, why, he joined the church, and the church leaders went to him and told him that there was a widow over there that he ought to marry, and that was my grandmother, who had lost her husband.
Was that Viola Scott?
Viola Scott had lost her husband, and her name then, maiden name, or her married name, was Negley, and she was pregnant with her first child by Negley, and so she had this one child, and I remember my Aunt Elva, that was the child from Negley, and then later, why, she had the family that she had that I knew, and my father was the firstborn of that family, and they named him Alfred Hiram after my great-grandfather and her husband, whose name was Hiram Negley.
Oh,
And that's how my dad got his name.
got the Hiram part.
He was born under the covenant, so he was really a Negley, but his mortal father was Messiah Sage Nichols.
Okay. What did Messiah Sage do for a living? What's his livelihood?
He was a cowboy,
Uh-huh.
but he prospected a little bit too. Whenever he would be herding cattle, why, if the minerals looked right, why, he always carried a little pick, and he'd pick out and see if the minerals were any good. And he found several small claims of gold that way, and he would sell them instead of really putting into it and develop them. He'd sell them to somebody, and he sold them to people like Thomas C. Romney was the mission president when I went into the mission field, and he called me in and he said, "Elder Nichols, do you know you ever heard of Messiah Sage Nichols? And I said, yes. And he said, I lost $10,000 on that man.
Oh my goodness.
And I said, well, tell me about it a little bit. And let's see if your story's going here with mine. So he told me about it, and he said he bought one of these claims that Granddad had filed on,
Mm-hmm.
and there was gold there, and so they brought in a lot of equipment, and they spent a lot of money for equipment and brought in there and set it up, and it played out real quick.
Oh.
So they had all that equipment in there and no gold.
So it wasn't Messiah Sage's fault. It was.
No, it wasn't, because he just sold him the claim.
Right. Could have been good, bad, or ugly.
There was just a little bit of gold, surface gold there, and grandfather found it, and Thomas C. Romney, who was a cousin to Marion G.
Marion G. Romney.
Yes,
Mommy.
he was a mission president, Thomas C. in Independence, Missouri, when I went on my mission.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, what else? What are your earliest remembrances of your sisters and family life?
Well, I had 5 sisters, and they were all 2 of them older and 3 younger, and they'd all get together, and I was the only boy, so it was
A little unfair, huh?
yeah, that's what they intended to, that it be unfair. They'd always take advantage to get me into trouble.
Tell us about your animals. What's the earliest dog you remember, or horse, or cow?
Oh, we always had dogs. We had a Rover, but he wasn't a very good stock dog, and we had a little white Spitz dog. But Dad bought me a little horse one time. His name was Tony, a little Welsh pony, and I'd ride him all over the valley with Clarence, and I'd ride over. But when we'd go very far, why, he was too little to ride that far, so I'd ride a big gray mare and
Mama.
we're going to
Mama.
Monica, go back and talk to Grandma and eat your olives.
going to grammar school or kindergarten.
I'm going to stay here.
I can't remember why, but the bus let me off up to Grandma's house. And I rode the school bus number 5, and I was a half a mile from home. I know that, but I can't remember why I went to Grandma's house. So that must.
Did you spend time at your grandmother's house?
That was my grandmother Manning, because Grandmother Nichols died when I was 4,
Oh,
and I was 5 when I went to kindergarten, and my grandmother Manning and Aunt Mag moved into that house where the Nichols had lived before. And I guess.
Was your mom pregnant? Maybe that's why you needed to stay there. Did you spend time there or just walk home?
I don't know why the bus let me out there. I got out there, and whether I stayed there or not, I can't remember. But I remember going up there. See, I came home half day in the middle of the day.
Just like kindergartners do.
Yeah. And my 2 older sisters probably stayed until 4 o'clock and then came home. But I don't ever remember living in that house. It was just I got off there.
Did you enjoy kindergarten?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, let's go on to first grade. Do you remember your first grade teacher?
I think her name was Mrs. Howell.
Okay.
And then my second grade teacher was Mrs. Broughton. We couldn't understand that. She changed her name after the first year, and she got married. She wasn't Miss Rotten Broughton.
Uh-oh. How about third grade?
I can't remember the first third grade teacher's name. I can remember my sixth grade teacher's name. His name was Foot.
Uh-huh.
You eat it.
Do you have any fond remembrances of school, whether you liked PE best or
And he was kind
math?
of a strong disciplinarian. He'd throw chalk at you if you didn't,
Ooh,
you know, or an eraser or something
Uh-huh.
like that.
keep you straight.
Yeah.
When did you start enjoying athletic things?
Well, I was a fast runner, and so I was included in all of the athletic deals from as far back as I can remember, because I could run fast. And when we would go to Mutual after I was 12, why, we'd have what they called a game between the sidewalks, and we called it pump pull away or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they could never catch me, and it took a lot bigger fella to catch me if I ran.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the big teenage boys, they really had to run to catch me, you know, up 17 and 18.
Wow.
If they caught me. And we had a game where they would hold hands like this and then try to run through and break the hand
Like
grip.
Red Rover, Red Rover.
Uh-huh. And to break the hand grip, we could run through it. And there wasn't any of them could hold me. I'd run through their hands.
Wow.
When they would, because I'd hit with my shoulder, and with that much weight, they just couldn't hold their hands together.
Uh-huh.
Two fellows, you know, together.
Mm-hmm. So were you on the track team in high school then?
Yes.
And you played?
I played football, I played basketball, and in the track team, I ran the quarter mile.
Do you remember how fast?
Yeah, I could run a quarter mile in 53 seconds,
Mm-hmm.
and I ran the mile so I could build up my endurance to run the quarter.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time we had a state track meet, why, they had a fellow from Glendale that ran, and we drew the #1 space on the when we drew lots.
Mm-hmm.
And so he asked for it because he said, I can beat all of you guys if I have a fair chance, except this one fellow from Phoenix. And so we give him the #1 spot, and our best quarter miler was a Mexican boy, and so we traded 1 for 4, and he started then in the 4th position on the first line, and I got the next line right behind on the second row, so I started a yard behind the fellow that was supposed to win,
Uh-huh.
and he did. He broke the record that day. He ran it in 50 flat.
Hmm.
And I finished right behind him. I never would let anybody pull in behind me or in between us. And I finished second on the state track meet. And our coach said, I didn't know you could run the quarter that fast. That other Mexican was supposed to have been faster than you.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I just never would let anybody in between us. And I ran second all the way around the track. And
More determination than anything then, huh?
yeah. Well, I knew I couldn't pass him
Mm-hmm.
because he was already a yard ahead of me.
Sure.
And the quarter mile, you run just as hard as you can run.
Yeah.
The first 220, and then the last 220, you pour it on.
Uh-huh.
And I ran. Larry Palmer ran the mile, and I ran the mile with him.
Something in my nose again?
And we'd usually finish first and second. And one day I told him I was going to pass him on the third lap.
Was there something in my nose?
So did when it got around on the backside on the third lap. Why, I passed him. Boy, he come back around me so fast that he was sprinting already, and almost caused him to lose the race because it broke his
Rhythm.
stance, and he lost his wind. And
Oh my goodness.
I don't know.
but he sure did come back around me real quick there. He wasn't going to stand for that. He'd already made up his mind, but I told him what I was going to do, you know. We ran together all the time.
More than one in the race.
Yeah.
What position did you play on your football team?
Well, my freshman year, I think I played halfback. But then when at the end of the season, or close to the end of the season, Pat Nichols, my cousin, knew the coach real well, and he had been in the track team the years before that, a few years before, and he told the coach that this was his cousin, and so he put me on the varsity squad close to the end of the season, and I played guard then on the varsity team when I was a freshman. So.
As a freshman, that's real unusual.
And then when I was a sophomore, I think I went up and played guard on that. But when I was a junior then, he put me in to play tackle. And I was a real light tackle. I only weighed 165 pounds. And we'd go up against those tackles that weighed 250. And,
sure.
But the coach knew what I was, when he'd have somebody pull out, well, he'd have me pull out because I was fast. And I would run with the interference on a pull out or end around. I played tackle then until I went into the Navy. I went into the Navy when I was a junior, the last part of the season.
That's right, you didn't finish high school, you went into the Navy.
I went into the Navy. I didn't even finish my third year.
Oh, you didn't even finish your junior year, huh?
I went in the Navy in April. But I'd already got through with football by then. I don't think I went out for basketball that year.
You played basketball too? Softball too? Baseball?
No, I didn't have time for softball and track. See, they were at the same hour.
Oh.
And Jack Longmore went out for baseball and was pretty good at baseball. But if I went out for track, well, that took up my hour of athletic time, and then they stayed over after school to practice. And we'd get off an hour early from school and go practice from then until dark or whatever.
Shh. Be quiet. What about church sports? Did you get involved in church sports at all when you were a teenager?
No, they had M-men then, and I didn't get into M-men athletics because we moved from Gilbert to Mesa
When you were how old?
when I was a freshman, and I didn't get into the group that in the second ward. They didn't go out for M-men ball or basketball or anything like that. They were into drama.
Oh.
And it didn't interest me, and I nearly got inactive at that time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When you moved to Mesa? Tell me about Gilbert. How much property your father had and some of the background there.
Dad always ran a big acreage of cotton. Then he raised grain and alfalfa in his alternate years. But we had 900 acres of cotton.
Oh.
And when I was 7, he bought a John Deere tractor, and from then on, why, we kind of slowed down on the horses. Before that, why, we just had a big tractor that would do the plowing, and we cultivated with horses all the time until I was 7. And then the John Deere tractor, we could cultivate 4 rows at a time instead of 1.
Yeah.
And that cut down a lot on the cultivating time. My Uncle Robert worked for my dad, and he was...
Robert was your mother's Rachel's brother?
Yeah.
Mama.
How many workers did Grandpa have on the ranch at Mesa?
I don't know.
Gilbert.
When he lived on the base line, we always had a lot of Mexicans worked for us. We had a row of 12 by 12 cabins up on the place that the Mexicans lived in.
How many cabins do you think were there?
Oh, let's see, probably 3, 6, maybe 9 or 10 cabins.
So at least 9 or 10 families that supported.
Yeah. Once in a while, if it was a larger family, they'd pull 2 of those cabins together.
Well, they were movable?
Oh yeah, Yeah, we'd put skids under them and move them with a tractor.
Oh.
And they didn't ever, none of them had floors. They were just dirt floor. They used dirt floors, but they were just cabins for the cotton workers. And
they only lived there in the summer, or lived you there all year?
They lived there most of the year. Some of them. See, some of them would irrigate for Dad. And some of them would work on the balers in odd times. Dad had a hay baler. And then in the slack season, when there wasn't much else going on, why, we had big cottonwood trees around on the place, and we'd let them trim the trees, and then they'd cut up the wood, and he'd pay them to cut up the wood. And we always burnt wood. I remember as a boy, I'd take the little red wagon and bring in 2 or 3 loads of wood every night in the wintertime, so we'd have enough wood to keep the house warm. And I remember that house didn't have any insulation. It was one thickness of wood. Was all it was.
2 by, yeah?
No, 1 by. One thickness of like a 1 by 12, and then they'd put a 1 by 4 in between them as a slat on the outside. And,
well, it was Arizona, not
yeah,
Michigan.
It didn't really get awful cold, but we always burnt a lot of wood. That was my job, to haul in a lot of wood.
Can you move it?
Pile up a big old pile of wood in the front room and also in the kitchen.
Yeah.
We had wood range, and Mother cooked off from it, and even had a hot water range in it so that it would heat the hot water.
Do you remember when you got electricity?
No, seemed like we had electricity, but not always, because we used to have just a kerosene lamp. But we were pretty close there to the power lines, so it was quite early that we got electricity.
What about a phone?
Yeah, we were close to that too. We had phone.
So you had most conveniences. How about vehicles? When did your first car? When did your dad first buy
I can't remember
a motor car?
when he had the car. I remember the 1929 2-door or 4-door sedan that we had. And one night I went out to get something out of it, and I must have caught it on fire, striking a match, you know, and looking for something in the car. And when they woke up, why, the car was on fire in the garage, and the little Model A Ford was on the outside, and it had caught fire, burned off 2 tires, and the gas tank was going.
Oh dear. How old were you?
I don't know. I can't remember.
But you didn't know it had started a fire?
Mommy, I fell down.
I'm sorry you fell down.
No, I didn't know it had. And we took it in the brown Chevrolet to have it rewired and tuned up so it would run again, the little Model A. But the Chevy burned clear up. It
was gone.
Just burnt wreck after that. But the Model A, they took it in and repainted it, and we called it the Dean Sade after that. And whenever Annie would need a car, we'd let her take the Dean Sade. The
Why?
Green Ford.
Oh.
Dean Sade. Annie would always come over and stay with Mother whenever we had another baby born.
Oh.
She cooked and washed diapers, I guess.
Help out.
Yeah. And Grandpa stayed with her too, so she took care of Grandpa, but she'd come over.
Annie took care of Grandpa? When she was there?
No,
or all the time?
Grandpa lived with us part of the time, but after they moved and got over here, why, they fixed a little cabin for Grandpa, and that was his house, and he stayed in it. He probably died in '39, I think is when he died. And I can remember him real well.
Sure.
Going, and I'd go see Grandpa and go in, but he had that cancer, that skin cancer on his side of his face. And it smelled bad. I didn't stay in there long, but I'd go see Grandpa. Even though he lost his eyesight he could tell me by my voice, I guess, because I'd go in and he'd say, "Is that you, Lloyd?" And then I'd visit with him for a little while, and then I'd go out in the yard and play with Pat and Dick, Clarence. Ellen was just a little bit younger than I was.
Well, when did Pat and Vic and Annie and her husband move to California?
I don't remember what year it was, but it was in the 30s, somewhere along maybe the middle of the 35, 36, somewhere along there. And Clarence came over one summer before that and stayed with us so he could ride his horse. And we kept his horse, old Shep. She was half Shetland and half regular horse, so she was miniature sized, but a strong built little mare. But, she was real fat because nobody would ride her in the other times than when Clarence came over. So, but after they moved over to Dad kind of set them up in the. They got a few cows and they had a dairy. But Annie would always take care of Grandpa after that, as I remember. One time while he was complaining about being too hot in that. Let's see, what was we?
Yeah. Have that bite of fun.
You were gonna tell me about Pat and Vic. Some of your fun times with them.
When Pat and Vic came over in the middle 30s, I can't remember exactly what year it was, from California. They lived close to us. I couldn't tell Pat and Vic apart.
They were twins.
They were identical twins.
No, that's Jill.
But Pat had a little pock mark between his eyes.
Oh.
And if I'd look him straight in the face then, why, I could tell that that was Pat. But later, after I got acquainted with them enough, I could tell them apart by their voices. And even just their gestures were different.
Sure. Different personalities.
Different personalities. But they lived, one time they lived down in Pomerene, Arizona. And we'd go down there quite often. It was down below Benson and Tucson. We'd go down there. We had a ranch down at Fort Huachuca, and we'd go down there. Dad'd keep a cowboy or something on a place down there. But when they lived in Pomerene, they had an artesian well that flowed water all the time. Just oozed out of the ground. It was cased and oozed out of the ground. We thought that was the best water there was, that artesian well.
I want to drink some red yellow.
What are some of the fun things you did with Pat and Vic when you were little, though?
Well, we used to take Grandpa's buggy and go out on the desert. Take his horse, old Bird, go out on the desert. Clarence and Pat and Vic and I, 4 of us in that buggy. And we'd go out. It was probably 4 or 5 miles out east of where we lived. And past the last canal, and that was all desert out there. After we got out past all of that when we were boys. And we'd go out there and run around on the desert with the buggy. And a lot of it was under citrus, oranges, and they even raised bananas. And we'd go by that and look, but they never raised any bananas that were edible. We'd get a few oranges off the side of the trees and stuff like that. We'd ride along with the buggy, take a few oranges, take our lunch.
You don't want any more, Jill?
Go have a picnic with our,
You're in then.
us 4 boys. Grandpa would always tell us to take the buggy and go through the pond so it'd soak up the wheels.
Would that help it?
Well, tighten up the wheels.
Oh. Seemed like you also told me once about a story when you pulled a little red wagon behind one of your horses or something.
Oh, yeah, Clarence used to ride Shep, and I'd get in the little red wagon and he'd put the lasso rope in on the wheel.
Here, come here, Grandma will.
Halfway on the tongue of the little red wagon, and then he'd pull me. He'd run along the side of
You
the
want to
road,
bite first?
cement road, and with the horse, and then he'd pull me, and I'd get in the red wagon, and he'd pull me, and boy, sometimes we'd get going 40 mile an hour, and it'd start to weave, and I'd correct it, and it'd weave a little further when I'd over-correct it pretty quick while we were upsot. We wore the wheels out on that little red wagon, and so we made the one of these little derby cars, you know, out of a 2x12, 1x12, and put wagon wheels on it, and we run the wheels off of that thing, and we'd have to go for the Scrounger and get some more wheels. We had a steering wheel on it and all, but the time you'd connect the slack on it, why, it'd just get to weaving a little bit further.
Too late.
It should have had roll bars on it so that it wouldn't hurt you.
Oh. Well, it sounds like Pat and Vic got to be your brothers that weren't old enough. They were your companions and playmates since your sisters
if I
were.
could catch Tony and get away from home,
Turn
why,
around and sit down this other way.
I could go over to Aunt Annie's and play with Pat and Vic, and they always had chores to do, and so I had chores to do too. And so they'd start milking at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and sometimes I'd help them milk, and sometimes I'd say, I just can't afford it. I got to go home. I got cows to milk of my own.
Sure.
I'd always be late then getting home if I stayed and helped them milk.
Did your socks off too?
We probably had 8 or 10 cows to milk.
Did you milk them once a day then?
No, twice a day.
Night and morning.
Yeah.
And they had a dairy farm?
Yeah.
Pat and Vic did? His Clarence?
Yeah, they'd have to get up and milk the cows before they went to school.
Uh-huh.
And my Uncle Robert, he came down and he'd milk his cow. He had a cow on our place, but he had milk that way for his family. But Uncle George would milk our cows. He was the one that never did marry. He was epileptic, and he never did marry, and so he always went out and bought the cows in and started milking in the evening, and then whatever help he got, why, he appreciated it, and if he didn't get any, he just had to do it. So if I didn't get home, why, it was still done, but as I got older, well then, George, one time, he took a trip and walked back to Alabama.
Walked?
He walked. That guy could walk faster, but he said he got so hungry, he found a rabbit that had been run over along the road, and roadkill. He ate a rabbit. He always had a little change in his pocket, a little bit of money. I don't know where I guess Dad paid him a little bit, but I don't remember ever doing field work or anything like that, but he did help with the cows.
Uh-huh.
But he walked back there, and then he died back there.
Oh.
We go back home.
What'd you do with them?
How long would it take you to walk?
How many miles was it?
From Arizona. Well, I bet you it's 3,000 miles.
At least 2.
It's a long way. Well, if you walked, what, 7 or 10 miles a day?
Oh, he'd do
He'd
better
probably
than that.
walk 20 miles a day.
20 miles a day? Well,
5 days he'd walk 100 miles.
well, there you go. It's a lot. Let's see, what else? What else do we have on the paper that you want to talk about?
School, home, courtship, career.
His Navy experiences.
Oh, Navy. Talk to us about your Navy. You went in when you were a junior.
When I was a junior in high school, I was 2 years late in school, so I was of age, but I wasn't.
Get your socks off.
See,
A graduate.
I took 2 years in the 2nd grade and 2 years in the 8th grade. And so I was 2 years behind, so I was in the same class as my sister Rosie.
Uh-huh.
So when the draft got close on me, my dad had taken out a farm deferment for George Lewis to help him with the ranch, but I was still milking all the cows.
Who's George Lewis?
Huh? George Lewis was a fellow that, well, he had been on a mission, and he lived there in the war, and Dad took out a farm deferment for him, and he done the plowing for the cotton and the alfalfa and stuff like that. So when the draft board got wind of it that I was going to school and milking cows, they said, well, let's just draft him. He's not doing anything in school, and he's not milking cows to get a real farm deferment, so they decided they'd draft me. The draft board chairman or whoever was in charge of it, all of his boys were 4F. They got a 4F deferment for them. So they got my number up on top, and rather than to let them draft me, I didn't want any part of that gravel grinding Army deal, so I run down and enlisted in the Navy. So when my number came up again, then I had to go to the Navy. And I was just 18, but I was nearly 19. See, that was April, so April, May, June, July, I'd have been 19. But I went in the Navy when I was 18 with several other boys that I knew there in Mesa. I was in boot camp then 2 months.
In San Diego?
In San Diego. 2 months, and then 2 months over to San Pedro where I learned to drive the boats.
Where's San Pedro?
It's just down from San Diego there where the amphibious base was there. And then they sent me overseas to Hawaii. So I was over there in the summertime then, April, May, June I was in Hawaii.
Tell them about hitchhiking home.
Well, while I was in boot camp, as soon as we got through boot camp, that was just 1 month. We were only in boot camp 1 month, and they give us liberty. And so the fellow that, one of the boys that was living there was from Gilbert, he said, I've got a car at home. If we get my car over here, we could go home on these weekend liberties. And so the first one we got, why, 4 of us took off and hitchhiked to Mesa from San Diego. And we got out there at El Central and couldn't get a ride out of there, so we had to wait then to catch the bus the next morning. That'd be Friday night. Saturday morning we caught the bus then and went on in. We got into Mesa just afternoon or early in the morning there. So we went to church and in the afternoon then we had to take his car and buzz back to San Diego, so we'd be there Monday morning to muster in. And there we'd been up Friday night and Saturday night with no sleep, you know, and then got out on the road and tried to drive Sunday night, and none of them wanted to drive, so I said, I'll drive. And I drove and I got so sleepy, but I couldn't, I had to roll the window down to keep